What up, y'all? I hope you're doing well. We're here for our weekly energy oracle forecast, where we're taking a look at the week ahead to see what kind of energy we'll be living in. I would have made this video earlier. I was off work tonight. We closed the restaurant because we don't get any business on the Super Bowl. So I went over to my sister's and watched. I just really was interested in snacks in the halftime show. I was excited to see Bad Bunny and the halftime and what they were going to do and what kind of production they're going to have. And first of all, I'd like to say that this is the second year in a row that I predicted the winner of the Super Bowl. And I'm like, should I just start betting on the Super Bowl? But like the moment I try to gamble, like it always messes me up. But last year, my friend reached out and he was like, do you have a prediction for who's going to win the Super Bowl? And I was like, I don't know who's playing, but I'm seeing that the green team is going to win. And it was the Eagles, and they won. And he won money because he bet on my guess. And this year, I really wasn't quite aware of who was going to be playing. I vaguely knew at the last minute. And I just saw again, like this, like the dark, like navy blue green uniforms are going to win. I was like, I feel like maybe the Seahawks are going to win this year. I don't know why. And I do, like, generally just dislike the Patriots just because, like, it's just like they're the bullies who always come in and win. And they're, like, just, it's boring. They're not an underdog at all. I've just never liked them. And they just feel like everything that's, like, just always pushing its way in the front of the line in this country. And I found out just now as I was like scrolling just like on social media when I got home that apparently the Patriots are big Trump donors and the Seahawks aren't. And I'm like, yes, I always know. Even if I have no idea about the facts, my sweeping judgments are usually correct. And I'm always like feeling so bad. I'm like, why am I so judgy about this person or this thing? And it's my intuition. It always knows which thing to pick. So I loved the halftime show. I thought it was so poignant, so creative, and every aspect of the set, the lighting, the props, the people, even the businesses, the little like food truck, the bodega fronts, those were all real businesses that were featured. There was a wedding celebration and ceremony in the midst of the show, which actually turned out to be real. Those people really got married. And I just thought it was so such an interesting show because it was centered around community, joy, celebration, togetherness, just common people celebrating in the streets, gathering, family values, people of all ages that look just like real people just dancing in the show. And it was just pure joy and good values. There was nothing sensationalized or sexualized about the show at all. And I was just thinking like, ooh, I wonder what the haters are going to try to say about this, because it's like, it's so that there's no way to like take it down. It's just pure innocent joy and goodness. And of course, he was like, how are you gonna, and then he's like actually has the nerve, the balls, after putting kid fucking trash at the front of their like little like podunk parking lot show, who's like singing about minors and statutory rape, and then he's like trying to say like, oh, look at all that dancing at the Bad Bunny show, like how are you gonna let children see this? Just oh my god, like the insanity of this person while all of these horrific truths are coming out about you, like facts, like evidence, that you're actually going to still like go up there and like carry on with this charade is just doesn't deserve any attention. Honestly, it really doesn't. So I just thought the Bad Bunny performance was amazing and so enjoyable and so triumphant and symbolic. And I was just so happy that it was just like a good, positive event. You know, nothing went wrong. Everything went nicely. So I thought it was super cool. All right, let's get into the reading. Okay, what kind of week are we looking at? Okay, wait, endings. I love this. Hopefully, the fucking ending we've all been hoping for, bringing all down the just horrors and corruption and beginning of the end of this old cycle that was built upon toxicity, lies, corruption. But I think too, on a personal level, this is the beginning of the ending of the old version of the self. And I think this is the moment where, you know, for a few years now, we've been talking about like jumping off of the old timeline, being in this like kind of like purgatory limbo period, and then actually jumping into a more settled timeline. I feel like if you compared it to like, we were on one channel in TV and a story was playing out. And then that story discontinued. And it's like for the last few years, it's like we've been flipping through the channels. It doesn't seem like we've landed on anything long enough to get settled into our own continuous storyline. But I think we're finally at the ending of that ending. And that is safely behind us. And I feel like over the past few days, just reflecting on my own life and my own journey up until this point, I feel like a different person, even from like a few years ago, even from last year, even from 2 years ago. And so I think that it is the ending that feels like when you are leaving somewhere and you're on a ferry boat, or the boat is pulling away and you're kind of saying goodbye to that landmass and you're sailing into a new future, right? We don't know quite what that's going to look like, but the ending is protected and there's already new growth. I love that this ending card is depicted with fern growing out of this this torso, because ferns are symbols of protection. They have the energy of protection, and they are like this growth. They are perpetual. Like I noticed them in the forest, even in the winter, like they're always just enduring. They're always green. And so there's always new life coming. There's always life being regenerated, even in times where we feel like there's so many endings, there's so many things breaking down. But it's also like once we finally see the end, we're further along into the beginning than we think, because there's already new growth, new life happening. All right. Ooh, okay, what do we have here? Crown chakra. So this was one of the themes that came through in one of my other cards in my own weekly spread this week. But divine inspiration. Like we as human beings are either channeling through the light of the creator at any given moment, or the darkness of the opponent and the opposition and the adversary. So whatever we're seeing play out in this world is a result of what human beings choose to do with the spiritual influence that is being pushed upon us at any given time. And so when we align ourselves with things of a goodly nature, then we become more like the attributes of the creator. And so that connects us to divine inspiration, divine guidance, divine favor and provision and blessing, and the path being made for you, the way being made clear, right? Divine inspiration. When you're aligned with divine inspiration, then you're like, oh, I don't know why, but I sense that I'm more drawn to the Seahawks. Like, why is that? Oh, because they're not backed by dirty money, right? I don't know how I know that. I just know, and I trust that. I trust that intuitive impulse. Where does that come from? It comes from having an open chakra and a desire to be connected, so much so that I align myself, my behavior, my choices, my routines, my rituals, my thoughts, my intentions throughout the day. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I'm a flawed human being. But when a person occupies themselves with these concerns and they are putting themselves in a vibration that aligns themselves with holy connection, with the connection to that spirit, that strong connection to spirit. It's like an umbilical cord almost. And the way that we strengthen and create that umbilical cord is to share affinity of form with the creator, to be like the creator, to be a force of light and love and sharing and unity and togetherness. One of the symbolic interpretations that were pointed out about the commentary of Bad Bunny's show was that at no point was he really, for any length of time, elevated on a stage above anybody else. Like, he was moving around, he was always kind of level with the audience, not with the audience, but with the whole like crew and cast within the performance, like the extras and the dancers and the other performers. Like, he wasn't set apart as like this glorified star. It was like he was part of a whole community of, it looked like it was taking place in the streets of Puerto Rico. And it looked like it was like just people in the streets, like having a celebration. And it wasn't like one person was more important than anybody else, right? So there were, like, he was a channel of so much goodness. He brought forth such a message of love and togetherness, right? And because he's been aligning his sensibilities with these ideals and ideas and this kind of integrity, right? It has given him all this divine inspiration and divine providence and purpose, because he's made himself a channel for a message of love in a time where it's needed. It's poignant, right? So, like, you can see he's an example of in this moment, for the purposes of amplifying a positive message and being a positive symbol to humanity, like that his choice of having integrity and having goodness have elevated him and have given him direction and creative ideas and inspiration that have been fruitful, right? All right. Ooh, we have water. I love this because I was thinking about water today. And I was thinking about how water cannot be forced to remain contained. Water will spill out, it'll leak, it will pour out. If you're not using water and utilizing it with a purpose, it can't be contained, it can't be kept. It'll evaporate. Water can boil, it can be something else, it can change form. It's adaptable. Like, it won't go, it can't be held and forced into one sort of thing. Like when you think about earth or material things, it takes a long time for them to change form. Like, water as an element is so interesting because it can take any form. It can be a liquid, it can be a gel, it can be air, it can be a vapor, it can be physical, it can be like ethereal, it can be non-physical. And so I guess it can be air, it could be like a gas, it could be a vapor, right? So, like, we during these times, we can't be too rigid. We need to be quick and adaptable, and we need to be able to find, like, water finds the easiest path. Like, if water comes up to an obstacle, it just finds a way around it. Like, water can cut through stone, right? Water is gentle, but it makes a difference over time. It can wear down rock surface over a course of time because it's persistent. It can be gentle, right? Water doesn't have to be aggressive. It can, through a consistent influence change the surface of something, change the appearance of something, change the shape of something, right? So water is flexible and it's not too rigid. So I think that there's something about like accepting this moment where we're at and making the best of it, being adaptable, being able to find flow, but not be swept away with a current either. There's also like the water here is coming through the pelvic bone, and water is associated with the second chakra, which is centered around our reproductive organs. This is where we hold guilt and sexual shame. This is where if there's imbalances in our sacral chakra, it can cause our appetites to be out of balance as well. And so what are we seeing all this week is sexual perversion, being wounded around with sexual violence, carrying sexual shame, sexual violence, sexual wounds, sexual assault for years and years and years. And these poor people have been trying to find safety and an outlet to express. And I can't, when I hear about the things that were happening to any of these people, I can't fathom the amount of courage and resilience that it would take to be able to go on living, having experienced the things that they've experienced. So collectively right now, we have this subtle psychic, empathic impact happening. And there is like this psychic exhaustion, honestly, from the collective, like having all of this just hitting us at once. And of course, this is part of like the psychological warfare of just dumping all of this information on us and then like being like, haha, look, nothing's gonna happen. You know, it's an aggressive power play, right? But I think the more that we can be conscious of how we're processing this moment can also be a collective healing and a collective choice to heal and purge and purify and hold space together, right? And so this is bringing up all kinds of questions in the collective around sexuality, programming around sexuality. Where did it come from? Where did these beauty standards come from? Where did these behaviors that we've learned really stem from and seed from, right? And so kind of maybe like coming into there's like a sexual healing, like a sexual renaissance, but not like in the way that the hippies did it, where they're like, free love, we're taking our power back. It's like, it's more of like a healing, I think, happening. And if you have purchased the 2026 prediction series, and you get into over the months, there is a constant presence of the second chakra. And when I was recording this in November, I wondered like what this was related to as it was playing out. And I mean, we were, asking for the Epstein files in the fall, but I didn't really think they were gonna, I didn't know if we'd ever see them. And so it didn't occur to me that all this year it would be like coming to terms with these things coming to the light, sifting through this information, taking it in, and then figuring out how to move forward and take steps towards active reparation and healing and helping these survivors and bringing these systems down, because they're still going on, right? These were the most powerful organizers and systems creators and governors, lawmakers, CEOs. Like, these people put into place operations and businesses that can run on their own if they weren't there, right? So there's no reason to believe that any of this is stopped just because the ringleader was taken, you know. So I think that we're going to be trying to figure out how to address this, undo it, begin the process of healing for those who are involved, for repairing the system, for bringing it down and starting with something fresh and new, hopefully. You know, that's I think collectively people's hope. The amount of house cleaning that's involved right now is extensive. And it's almost looking like any of the career politicians, there's maybe a handful that would be left. And I don't think anybody really wants any of the career politicians for the most part. There's a few good ones out there, but for the most part, it's like we kind of just want regular citizens who care, who aren't owned by any weird, super groups and any corporate lobbyist interests. And we just want our neighbors to be our lawmakers and leaders, people who have souls and integrity and, level-headed wherewithal that's not out of check greed and perversion. That's what, it's really all we want. And I did a video today on Instagram about how really when you look at the world, our problems aren't too deeply complicated, not more complicated than we can handle. This world is full of brilliant, creative people. It's just that the systems that are set up are actively trying to sabotage us and keep any solutions from coming into the light. They profit more on horror and terror and suffering. So it's like being in an abusive relationship. Like I was in an abusive relationship and I remembered thinking like, why can't I just get my life together? Like, why do I have all these problems? And when I got rid of that relationship, I realized that I didn't have any problems. It was just that it would be stupid to call him a partner, but the person I was with at the time was just keeping us in constant upheaval and causing all these problems, causing all this like deep distress and stress in me. Once he was gone, for the last several years, I've literally lived in peace and harmony and in the kingdom of heaven over here. Not that I'm perfect, but at the same time, like I thought I was a dysfunctional person and I wasn't. I was just living under the influence of dysfunctional person. Same for my experience growing up. I was like raised in the presence of constant crisis and dysfunction, not by any of my doing, but I still had to suffer the consequences of living in constant chaos due to other people's choices. So too are we, a human family, living in the constant chaos of all these problems over the last 5 years. They're not just like random, like, oh my God, everything's just like so crazy in the world. We were so incompetent. Like it wasn't incompetence. It was hiding behind weaponized incompetence. But it's been a vicious plot unfolding as we're beginning to see, as it's intricately coming out in like fucking detailed manuals that are 3 million files and pages long. It's like all of the world's horrors are laid out, sometimes in fucking crayon on handmade birthday cards, are plans of taking over countries with beautiful real estate and resources via means of militarized genocide. Like these were things they joked around about, giving each other handmade birthday cards, like back in the 90s. Like obviously things that we're seeing played out right now. And you think, how can you abide by these horrors that are happening? How can you just stand by and be okay with children suffering like this, like innocent children being treated like they're they're in a battlefield? Like, what are you doing? Well, now that you've seen that they purposefully do these things as human sacrifice to their demonic overlords, you're like, oh, okay, this wasn't even an accident or an oversight or negligence. This was just, or insensitivity. This was part of the plan. they're actively doing this on purpose, right? So we need to purify and purge this evil, and healing is going to come, but it's going to come through like unity and care around those who have been wounded and robbed of something irreplaceable, and constant vigilance. Like when God flooded the earth during the times of Noah, what had happened was human civilization during the time of Noah had become so perverse and so out of control with their lusts for like sexual gratification and power. People were like doing all the horrible things imaginable, that we're hearing coming out now. There was, bestiality. They were, like mating with angels. Like it was like out of control what human beings were doing at that time. And Noah and his family were one of the only groups of righteous people left on earth that weren't participating in this. And Noah had wisdom, and he was a tzaddik, a righteous person. So he was given the insight to prepare to make himself an ark. And that is when the world was destroyed by water. There were a few times that God destroyed the world or fucked people up and had made them start over. And it got lesser each time that the people evolved to get a little better. By the time they got around to the Tower of Babel, it wasn't quite as bad as the time when like God had to destroy the whole earth or take out Sodom and Gomorrah with like hellfire and brimstone. Like at the point of the Tower of Babel, they were able to just scatter the people and confuse them and stop their plans. But that goes into deep wisdom studies in Kabbalah that has to do with these patriarchs that were being reincarnated. It was like Moses and Noah were the same person. It's just that like at the first time Noah was like, okay, well, we'll save my family and that's it. But he left humanity to fend for themselves and to drown. So when he was reincarnated again, and I think that Noah was the reincarnation of Abraham also. And so then Noah had to come back because he didn't think to ask God to spare the people, and so Moses was like, God was like, get out of Egypt or whatever. And Moses was like, no, I'm bringing the people with me. And he's like, no, they're going to be, stubborn. You're a mistake. Like, leave them behind, save yourself. And Moses was like, no, I'm bringing it with me. So that was one of the things that like elevated Moses beyond his last lifetime, was that he didn't just save himself with his own righteousness, but he used his righteousness to try to shelter and save others as well. All right, and then final card for the week. So ending of cycles, divine inspiration, purging, purification, cleansing, hopefully draining the swamp. And what do we have here? Root chakra. So again, like all of everything that we're manifesting through, we're manifesting divine inspiration. We're bringing it all the way down into the physical fruition, giving birth to these actions. This is our groundedness. This is our security. Well, our security is only ever safe if we build our foundation on the rock. If we build our security and our belief in our faith and understanding that there is a divine creator who exists, who is the source of all creation, all provision, all protection, the creator of all things, in control of all things. And that creator not only exists, but that creator exists to love me and built all of this, everything for me and for you. And this is a personal God, a personal connection. So when we understand that, it changes everything, right? It's the end of the old. We baptize ourselves, we go into the water, we leave the old consciousness behind, and we rise up, leaving the old person that we were dead in the abyss of the water, and we wash that identity away. And when we are come out of the water, we are reborn from the waters of creation, a new creature with new consciousness. And I would like a new phone case to get rid of this glare because I've got a big old scratch over my lens. So I think that this week is going to offer some kind of a turning point. It'll be interesting to see what develops, or if we simply digest what has come over and then things start happening from here. But I think that this is going to start a purge that is going to end this era of evil and perversion and corruption. But it's not going to be done for us, right? Action has to be taken. Things have to happen. But I do think that God is moving through the situation to heal things. But our security is going to depend on what we put our faith in, what we put our security in, right? And then when we take that leap of faith, God will be there to see it through. Like when you have a calling and you're called to do something, and there's something you're destined to do and it belongs to you, you will be sent the means and the support to make that happen. So when we have confidence and we put our confidence in that, then that is what gives us that steady, firm security. And that is what actually makes us it helps us fulfill our manifestations, rather than getting so close to bringing something through or finally manifesting something only to have it fall through our fingers. It's like when we build that foundation from the inside out, from our spiritual basis and from an energetic and conscious basis, that your whole vibration is that, then when you manifest things, they're solid, they resonate with you. You have prepared the ground to bring that in and hold that blessing without it leaving you, because you have made that the truth within you first, and then the truth is expressed in the fruit that you bear. You don't just take a fruit and try to keep it and it goes bad. You're growing the fruit from the tree. All right, you all, that is all for tonight. We will be back together tomorrow for our weekly anchor message, where we will be getting our spiritual lessons and assignments for the week. And yeah, we will learn more then. I'm a tired baby. I finally got my house sort of back in order from the chaos. I was doing a little bit more cleaning and things today. I've been doing deep cleaning like you would for spring cleaning, but I've been doing it in the winter. So the chaos of having everything out of whack from the snowstorm kind of put like a little bit of a damper in that. But I'm back at it, getting all I can out of the winter months, doing little inside projects. But it's all that's going on in my world. So I hope y'all are well. See you later. Ciao.